Good evening, good afternoon. Hey, Nikhil. Everybody. It's funny that I'm actually talking about this topic. I didn't even necessarily intend this, but it's interesting that I'm discussing this topic of power right after the U.S. presidential election. So you may not live in the U.S. Watching this. That's okay. It's good to address the elephant in the room, obviously up front, that there was a U.S. presidential election, right? And so you may be interested to hear some viewpoints on how we're motivated by power, whether we're motivated by power, and what that says about human goodness or human evil, inherent goodness or evil. And the thing is that just for those of you who are curious, because I know some of you might be curious and whatever, and I don't like to talk about politics that often at least in a divisive way. All right, but yes, I will say I am not satisfied by the result of the election. I'm actually quite surprised that that happened. But it's a deeper question. It's good to kind of start on this question, right? Which is, why do people even vote a certain way, right? Why do people? Because voting in a democracy is a form of exerting power, right? This is how, as citizens, we exert power. Do we have a drive to just exert power and just kind of own the other side? Or if you're in a multi-party democracy, I would prefer a multi-party democracy, not just a two-party system. But if you're in a multi-party democracy, to build a coalition against the other side, do we have an inherent motivation toward that? Not really. And I want to introduce you guys to an article. You should definitely read this article. It's in 2007. J.A. Simpson, researcher, J.A. Simpson actually wrote an article. It's called the Psychological Foundations of Trust. And this is kind of like a compilation of a lot of research on power dynamics within organizations. Who exerts power? How do people exert power? Why do people exert power? And the thing is that the thing that he found, and it's not that he found. He's compiling a lot of research on this, but what's very clear from the research is that power itself, for most people, I will say for most people, because I'll explain this in a bit, why I say most people. For most people, power itself is not even an intrinsic motivation. Meaning, if I desire to exert power, it's not because the end result is I just want power for power's sake. It's just not the case. Now, why is it most people? And I'll explain why that is the case based on this research. But why most people? Well, there's a subset of the population called dark triad personality traits. People have dark triad personality traits: Machiavellianism, narcissism, psychopathy. Which, yeah, you do. These people do desire power for its own sake, and in an interesting way, they hold themselves. This is kind of that what basically, yeah, this is the assholery of it, for lack of a better word, of these personality types, is they think they're better than other people, but desiring power, and they desire power for its own sake, but desiring power for its own sake is actually irrational. What do you do with just power, right? Does that make your life better? Mm-hmm. So why do people desire power then? What does the research say? What does the science say? Well, power itself, the reason we desire power, and this goes to why people vote a certain way as well, which I'll talk about. The reason we desire power, if we do, is because of some basic human motivations. We desire security, right? We desire security. That's one big desire that we have, security. And when we don't feel like we have security, we have fear. We have uneasiness. We have uncertainty. We don't like uncertainty. It's why people build ideologies. They're very nice, That gives us a lot of certainty, right? Everything is perfect, perfectly stated, perfectly said. So this is why um, people are motivated by power for the most part. And what happens in terms of conflict? When do we have conflict over power? It usually ends up being a breakdown of trust, right? And so you can see this in voting. Right? If you ask a typical voter, and this is in any country, I'm not singling out the U.S. here, but this is in any country. If you ask a typical voter in a democracy, why are you voting for this person? Why are you voting for this party? This party? This party? It it boils down to not often. No, some people really do have policy. It's a specific policy. But even when they have this specific policy that they want, whatever, many times it's just a rationalization for a deep-seated feeling they have. And what is that deep-seated feeling? Some deep-seated feeling of trust for the party they prefer, or mistrust against a party they for whatever reason they mistrust, and so we'll come up with all of these different rationalizations for it. Even if you think, and we do this, I do this, we all do this because we're human beings. That's how our brain works. We have a feeling first, then we come up with the rationalization, the reasoning to support that feeling. So we feel mistrust toward a party or an individual or whatever. Okay, and that's why and then we come up with the reasoning behind why what policy supports that or whatever. Now, I'm not saying this is always the case, but it plays a huge role in our motivation. And so trust, it's not really about the policies at the end of the day. Yes, policies. Yes, sure. I mean, policies are important, don't get me wrong. But it's not about policies at the end of the day. I'm actually looking up a reference here that I have. There is actually research on, here we go, I'm just finding this other research. Great. So it's all about trust, all right? So the problem here is that I see nowadays, and especially now, and I think especially now that Trump is back in office, and I'll express my opinions freely. You can disagree with me, of course, right? And this is what I'm trying to foster. I'm trying to foster, people can disagree. Yes, of course, we want to disagree. That's important. It's important. But we want to disagree in a way that's respectful and trustful, okay? And so, yeah, I think now that, Trump is back in office, I do think we're going to see more polarization. I do think we're going to see more mistrust. It just seems that Trump has created this culture of mistrust among people, and it has made it okay, has given permission to people to be mistrustful of each other. Okay, all right, sounds good, Friezo. All right, welcome. So what do we do about this? Well, we have to change the way we are dialoguing with each other. And Rawej, hi, how you doing? Welcome. We cannot talk past each other. How many of you guys have been, you've watched YouTube videos and you have, watched TikTok videos and these debates? And what's happening on these debates? Oh, you think this, and then that's bad because of this, and well, let me prove you wrong, and this. It's such, sorry, but it's just BS. It's just such BS. That accomplishes nothing. That kind of dialogue accomplishes absolutely nothing. Why? Because, again, that kind of debate style, that kind of conversation style is just making me, let's say I'm in the debate position, you and I are in the debate position, it's making me hold on to my beliefs more strongly, and it's making you hold on to your beliefs more strongly. It's not accomplishing any kind of understanding. Not at all, right? Do you see that? So there's actually research on the kind of communication we can use to kind of address and break through this kind of power struggle, this dynamic in conversation. Hey, active Alan X, welcome. So here are 4 ways that we can kind of cut through. Feel free to ask questions, by the way. If you're just tuning on, welcome. So good disagreeers, according to a lot of research out there, good disagreeers do 4 things in conversation, right? And this is kind of how we heal, all right? This is how we use power, and we have power. We use it cooperatively. We have to start speaking like this. One, good disagreeers ask questions instead of making statements. So, for instance, have you heard in a debate people say, or let's say you disagree with somebody on something, right? And you don't, maybe you don't trust that other person. You don't trust that person's viewpoint, or the whatever party affiliation that they hang out with, or whatever that they stick to. Or do you find yourself making statements? You are this. You want to do this. That's not productive. Why not ask a question? What kind of question? So a question like, what? So okay, yeah, it makes you think more about your disagreement. Absolutely, I agree. It makes you think more about the disagreement than our things in common. We want to get to the things in common. So I would ask, let's say, Roej, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So let's say if you said, I think XYZ is wrong and that it should be illegal. Okay. So then my question to you would be, I wouldn't attack you back, right? Instead, why not try asking, okay, so why do you feel that way? Why do you think that way? And can you define what that means to you? You said XYZ should be illegal. And what does that mean? Can you give me all of the implications of that? What does that mean to you, right? Can you clarify? So free self, yeah. Well, yeah. You're entitled to your opinion. I love it. I want to foster really good conversation like this. Yeah, maybe they are both crazy. Mars, welcome. Hey, what's up? What's up? So. Yeah, so basically that's number 1. They ask questions instead of making statements. So next time you're in a conversation with someone and you disagree, ask a question. What do you mean by that? Can you clarify that point? Right? First of all, what's that going to do? It's going to allow that person to know that you are actually listening to them. You're listening to them. And people do want to feel heard and listened to. And they're going to be more receptive. They're going to be more receptive over time. Not maybe right away. But number 2, they work to get underneath people's opinions to their stories. Well, I talked about that at the beginning. People don't start with rationalizations. People don't typically hold policy positions for irrational reasons. And I'm sorry to say it's the truth about humans. It's just the truth about our brains, how our brains work. We have an emotion, we have a feeling, and then we come up with the logic to support that feeling. So good disagreeers, good conversationalists will get underneath the opinion, because usually the opinion isn't what's really at issue. It's some feeling, right? So Mars, I'm helping. I'm doing my part, I believe, to help the world become a better place. So how about you? So number 3, when they spot common ground, they name it. So I actually believe that because we talk past each other so much, and we don't define our terms, we don't clarify, we don't ask questions, we don't do 1 and 2. Yeah, that's true, Roej. So you are pointing out something very important, Roej. It takes work. It takes being willing to do the hard work and patience with people, right? That takes personal growth. It takes a lot of work on ourselves to just be very patient with people. And maybe they don't want to answer the questions. Maybe ask it in a different way. Maybe take a different approach, right? Maybe make an observation. I see that you're feeling this way, right? But people, at least in some sense, in order to have a productive conversation, we have to be willing to answer each other in some way. if somebody's being completely non-conversational, right? They don't even want to engage in a conversation with you. That's a different story. That's actually a whole different live stream, all right? It is. And that there are, I think, techniques to work with those people. I'm not consistent with my work. What can I do for it? The different approach is being more aggressive. So Deepak, what can you do? Well, this is about human motivation. Yes, this is about actually power as a motivation. But let me just answer that real quick. Consistent with your work. Do you even like what you're doing with your work, or do you hate it? How about be honest with yourself, right, Deepak? Do you really hate what you're doing? Do you have other options? Maybe you hate what you're doing, but you don't have another option. Maybe you feel like you don't have another option. Is that really the case? Right? Okay, you like to do your work. Then if you're not consistent with what you do you take any kind of breaks? Right? Do you take any kind of breaks? Mars, I think you know the question to that. That's pretty easy. Rowedge, the different approach has been to be more aggressive. Yeah, so yes, a lot of people are just more aggressive. And that's not productive, but that's what we have right now. I think, yeah, so let's just, when they spot common ground, they name it. I actually believe that we have more common ground, we have more common values than we think. If you think about the process of evolution, you think about natural selection over time, right? And why we even exist, why we have survived as a species. Actually, one of the biggest reasons, and the science bears this out, that one of the biggest reasons for this is that we are cooperative. We are a very cooperative species. There were many species of humans that lived with us, alongside us in the past. One of the main reasons we survived as opposed to Neanderthals and other species of humans, one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the main reasons we survived is because we are uniquely cooperative. We are uniquely cooperative. So the point is that we do have common ground. We all do. It's that we are name calling and we're talking past each other, and we need to change our communication style. And it's not just going to take me, it's going to take all of us. We need to change the way we communicate, the way we dialogue. And it takes work. It takes personal growth on ourselves. So number 4 here, when they are unsure about something, they say so rather than pretending to be confident. I used to do this a lot, right? So you're in a conversation and you think you're going to seem weak if you don't seem like you know everything about the other person's position. No, you don't have to. Remember, that's the great thing about asking questions. Can you clarify that for me? And Active Alan X, what do you think about pseudo-intellectuals? Oh man, and then Deepak, I'll get to you in a moment. Pseudo-intellectuals, people who kind of pretend to be intellectual, I think that they have deep insecurities. You're trying to prove yourself that you are this amazing person. I think the one way you can tell somebody's a pseudo-intellectual is that they pretend to know everything, right? They pretend to not ever be wrong. That's how you know they're pseudo-intellectual. I think true intellectualism is, just this attitude. It's kind of an attitude. I don't really know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? No, I mean, not that extreme. But, there's a lot that I don't know. Actually, in fact, most of the things in kind of the universe, I don't know, right? Because I haven't studied everything. I have a good, deep knowledge of certain things, for sure. But I'm curious, right? Intellectualism, I think true intellectualism is curiosity. So you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to be an intellectual. You have to be curious and have humility. Self-motivation, Deepak, I'll get to that. Hard work or smart work? Yeah, so hold on. I got a lot of people to answer and then points to make, so I'll get to you guys. More tips to be self-motivated. I'll be honest with you, Deepak. Tips and hacks won't help us to become self-motivated. They might help for a day. They might help for a week. And then the next week, you're going to be unself-motivated. What you really need, and it may not be a satisfying answer, but it's really the truth. What you may need to do is try to understand, you say you love what you're doing, and you say but if we love what we're doing, if we truly love what we're doing, it should come naturally. Unless you're not taking breaks, right? Unless you're not taking enough breaks. Maybe you need to just simply take some more breaks. But there's got to be something, if I'm not consistent with what I'm doing, all right? That love for what you do is really one of the key things, key factors to being consistent. Being consistent also, this is true just psychologically. We are often not consistent because we don't identify ourselves as the thing. I'll give you an example. So if I'm struggling to work out, yeah, exactly. There really is no. I like how you put it, Awaken Zen. You want it or not, there's no tips to solve motivation. Here's another way of understanding. Here's another way of understanding it. You don't identify with the thing. Your identity is not in it. So, for instance, I work out every day. I love my workout, and I work out intensely. Now, I used to not work out. But what changed? Over time, I identified myself as this healthy individual. I am a healthy individual. I am, and it's not just an affirmation kind of thing. You basically decide who you are. I mean, that's the end of the day. You really do, and it's not this airy fairy floaty thing. There's science behind it. It's called neuroplasticity. Every time you do something, or you envision yourself as something, or you envision yourself as the worst thing, you have feelings of bad self-esteem, bad self-image. It's training your brain. You're literally training and molding your brain and changing the architecture of your brain to get used to that, to identify with that. And so you really have to ask yourself deeply, am I on the right path? Do I identify with what I'm doing? Is my identity truly in it? And so that's really, I could tell you, do the Pomodoro technique, do more rest, do meditation, eat healthier. I mean, I'm going to give you all the tips you want here. These are all science-based tips for sure. These are all tips, right? Take them. Eat low glycemic impact, get more sleep. These are all good tips. But at the end of the day, none of them really will work well or optimally or be sustainable if our identity isn't in that thing. I hope that helps. I really hope that helps. And I'm not just giving you something that sounds good for the sake of, oh, it sounds nice. I want to give you, the truth based on, hey, my years of experience, not just in academia and studying this stuff from a theoretical standpoint. I was in 10 years in sales, 10 years in the sales world. So I understand firsthand, and in entrepreneurship. So I understand firsthand, these doubts that you have, the lack of consistency, the lack of motivation. And I just want to be real with you because I want to put that love and that care out. You can do it. You can change your identity over time. But no hacks are going to save us at the end of the day. That's just the truth. No hacks are going to save us. And so do you believe in hard work or smart work? Both. I believe in smart, hard work. Okay, Awakens Zen? I hope that that really makes sense. I'll tell you something. I know we shifted away from the topic of power a little bit, but I think I've said all I want to say on power. But I will just say this. And it relates to power because power is a personal thing as well. You can take power, right? No politician, yes, there are going to be things in the world that happen. But are you going to skip your exercise because somebody won an election and you don't like the person? Are you going to, do worse things for yourself because you don't? Oh, you feel bad about, some political thing. Are you going to? No. Are you going to mistreat yourself because something went wrong and you don't feel it? No. You got to train yourself to really stand your ground and pursue your autonomy, pursue your own power, right? When you are not feeling it. So, personal power. But yeah, smart work versus hard work. Let me talk about this. Work is relative. And this relates to personal power. Work is relative. What do I mean by that? What do you consider work? What you consider work, I might not consider work. What I consider work, you might not consider work. I used to do a lot of appointments and sales appointments and pitches and and stuff like that. Eventually, it felt like work because I didn't really want to do it. And Deepak, this might actually help you as well. Eventually, it felt like work because deep down, I was trying to convince myself, oh yeah, this is great. I want to do it. But deep down, I knew the truth. It's like I don't really want to do this. And now I think I work way more than like on my YouTube channel. I've got I've got scripting and then I'm working with a team like an editor and then a copywriter and like all this stuff. And of course I've got my dog here. She wants my attention. You guys can say hello. There you go. There you go. Yes, she's a good girl. Anyway, but I feel like I do a lot of work now. But guess what? It doesn't feel like work. I feel I'm playing all the time. Every day I just play. I just play all day. That's what I do. And so, Deepak, like, do you feel like you play all day? I feel like I play every day. I don't know what work feels like, right? But but understand what I mean by that. I'm working a lot, what other people would consider work, because a lot of other people wouldn't want to do what I'm doing, right? And that's totally legitimate. I wouldn't want to do what a lot of other people are doing. So I believe in hard work and smart work. I believe in both. You should do what you love, but do it efficiently. That's smart work. And hard work, you should put all your soul and all your heart and passion into it. If you're not doing something you love, then there's something wrong. You only have so much time in your life. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking, right? You have to figure out it's not just what you love, but what is your purpose? What are you purpose driven and mission driven to do? Do that, right? Figure out what that is and figure it out fast, right? You have to focus on that. I don't know another way to say it, because again, you think you have time. We think we have time, right? How fast did the last year go for you? Went pretty fast for me. How fast did the last 5 years go for you? I bet you can remember like yesterday. 10 years. Right? If you're younger, time does go more slowly. This is actually a thing. Right? Not physically more slowly, but the perception of time, right? Because it's like a greater percentage of your life and all that stuff when you're younger. But yeah, the idea is, time is ticking. So I kind of want to leave us with that. I want to leave us with the hope that, not just hope, but I want you to commit to doing those 4 things, right? Asking questions of people instead of making statements. Get to work to understand people's stories or their feelings underneath their opinions, okay? Number 3, try to spot common ground and name it, all right? And then 4, when you're unsure about something, be willing to say you're unsure about it. Don't just pretend you know what you're talking about, all right? And these things are key, okay? So I will leave you with this stuff. Guys, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to check out. I actually just launched my new Dream Life system. If you want to explore a roadmap to pursue your purpose and all of that great stuff, check out the link in my profile. There, you can find that right there. It's called the Dream Life System. Just launched. I'm really proud of it, and it's super affordable for everybody to get into. So. Thanks, guys. I will see you in the next video coming up on Monday. I think you will really enjoy it. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.